Yeah, that's the right tone I want. Okay. Alright there, you little demons. Jules here for WhatCulture.com, back again with another episode of the awesomely named and Author Lee hosted Choose Your Own Adventure, the weekly medieval themed format where I, the Crown Jules of WhatCulture.com, take a list chosen by you. Yes, you, the person who is gearing up as of the time of recording to do one of the biggest streaming events that I've personally ever done. You see, over on FGS, the main channel that I do all of my work for, I am going to be streaming from Monday through to Friday across the entirety of the Steam Next Fest, and I'm going to be trying to play as many demos as I can. How many is that, Jules? Well, it's probably going to be like between 50 and 100 games, and I'm probably going to be mad by the end of it. So tune in on the FGS channel to see me descend slowly of what's left of my sanity just being eroded away. Yes, you get to decide what list I dole out to you each and every week, and this week we have none other to thank than Full Metal Soldier, or MTL Soldier, if you want to get technical about things, for their suggestion of times that video games were improved by fans and they came out even worse. You see, here's the thing. We're a very particular bunch, us gamers, really, aren't we? We know what we like, we know what we don't like, and sometimes what we think we like isn't actually what we like when we've delivered it in a way that we don't like, but we thought we did like. And sometimes we're very loud about those points, and we go onto message boards, or make YouTube videos, or just stand in the street in our underwear, yelling at anyone who will listen about what we want from our games. But here's the thing, friends. Sometimes we're not right. Where am I going with this? Oh yeah, it's 8 times that listening to fans made video games worse.
Einstein, Cleopatra, Hercules, Dracula, and Karl Marx all walk into a bar. No, this isn't the start of a strange dad joke. It's just a handful of the heroes that can help you grow your empire in today's sponsor, Heroes of History. Heroes of History is a strategic city-building and RPG collection game available for mobile and browser, where you can evolve your own civilization across solo and multiplayer modes. As you collect more and more historical heroes in this time-traveling tale, you can use them to take on rival forces through engaging real-time battles. And come on, where else are you gonna get to fight with Abraham Lincoln and Mozart by your side? The focus is fun, plain, and simple. There's no need to worry about city raids while you're offline or other progress-sapping headaches. Heroes of History plays on your terms, allowing you to relish the moments where you pull the hero you are hoping for, or pull off that one power play to finally evolve your city into its own empire. With regular updates and live events, there's never been a better time to try Heroes of History than with its current moon landing event, running until August 27th, where Einstein is trying to stop Nikola Tesla from altering the course of history. So get started today and download Heroes of History via the link in the description or QR code on the screen.
Number 8, getting rid of the timer, Dead Rising 4. Now, one of the most divisive gameplay aspects of the original Dead Rising trilogy is the in-game timer, which places a hard ceiling on how long players have to actually finish the main story. Now, many felt that this made the game less fun because it discouraged exploration and put pressure on them to race through the core story as fast as possible. Capcom listened to the complaints and made the timer more forgiving in Dead Rising 3 in particular, but because some fans still weren't happy, they ditched it entirely for the series' most recent entry, Dead Rising 4. And yay it, perhaps the single most vocal complaint about the fourth game was that the lack of an in-game timer robbed the experience of its overarching tension and unease. Capcom's just like, oh my god, shut up, okay, we're taking it away. What do you mean you're now crying that you don't have it? What do you want? What do you want from me in my silly zombie game? Some felt that the sequel tried too hard to streamline and even casualize the gameplay to its overall detriment, where a fair compromise would have probably just been including the option to toggle it on or off. Surprising how such a simple thing would have saved so much hassle. Capcom's just there like, you don't want it? Fine, I'll take it away. I'm ripping it up. I'm burning it. You want it back? Christ, if only we'd made a toggle. My kingdom for a toggle! Number 7. Make it harder. Devil May Cry 3 Dante's Awakening. Now, the early days of the Devil May Cry franchise are evidently defined by Capcom's struggles to balance the series' difficulty. Case in point, some just absolutely moaned until they were blue in the face that the first game was too challenging, and so Capcom responded by making Devil May Cry 2 hilariously easy, to the point that most of the fan base cried foul that they had massively course-corrected in the wrong direction. Capcom once again, what do you want from me, my silly devil game? I love that the Capcom in my mind is just like a parent who's got like so many screaming kids around, and they just do not know what to do with themselves. They've gone a little bit loopy. Just give daddy affection! Don't you cut that. That's not right. So, Capcom promised fans that this issue would be ironed out for Devil May Cry 3. However, once again, it kind of botched its balancing, resulting in what remains the most punishingly difficult entry pretty much in the entire franchise. For the game's Western release, Capcom infamously made hard mode from the Japanese version the normal default mode, which, combined with a brutally unforgiving checkpoint system, ensured that even seasoned players of DMC found it way too challenging for its own good. In fact, the feedback was so vocal that when Devil May Cry 3 Special Edition was released the next year, Capcom rebalanced the entire difficulty while also introducing a more amenable checkpoint system. Finally, Capcom said, "Do you love me now? Do you love me now? Please. I haven't got enough money to pay for you all to go to college. I just need one of you to like me." Number 6, including the Batmobile, Batman Arkham Knight. Now, despite the outpouring of love for both Batman Arkham Asylum and Batman City, many fans were still a little disappointed that neither game included one of the most iconic facets of the Dark Knight's repertoire, a drivable Batmobile. But Rocksteady heard fans loud and clear. Not loud enough that they introduced it in the second game, but loud and clear enough that the third game, Arkham Knight, got the damn Batmobile. Now, the marketing certainly made the Batmobile look like a fantastic way to explore Gotham, but once players finally got their hands on that game, it was clear that Rocksteady had kinda whiffed it. You see, the Batmobile is far and away the most contentious and polarizing aspect of the entire game, given that you're largely forced to use it in a number of tedious and frustrating combat and stealth sequences. Like, just for the record, driving around in the Batmobile and exploring the city in that way is so much fun. I actually love that aspect of it. But being told that, hey, time using Batmobile again, I'm just like, do I not have an option to not use this? I mean, I could actually solve this problem by doing a lot of things that don't involve the Batmobile. No, buddy. You gotta use that Batmobile. You asked for it, you got it. You got it in everything. It's now a tank. Okay. Whatever. Put simply, it just actually didn't feel that good to use and was way overused when it came to the gameplay elements, so it ensured that a badass method of transportation quickly became a massive chore. Pretty much no discussion about this game is complete without a prolonged rant about how annoying the Batmobile is, and you know what? That is a damn shame. Number 5, more strategy, Valkyria Revolution. Now, 2017's Valkyria Revolution, a spin-off of the tactical RPG franchise Valkyria Chronicles that I'm just learning about now, and I'm a huge fan of the Valkyria Chronicles games, and I'm actually kind of annoyed that I'm finding out this way that there's... I don't know why I'm checking my watch like it's 2017. I'm going to put a note down for me to check out this game because I didn't know about this. How did I not know about this game? Now, 2017's Valkyria Revolution, a spin-off from the tactical RPG franchise Valkyria Chronicles, which is amazing because Valkyria Chronicles 4 lets you have a dog as your tank commander, looked to broaden the series' player base, and unfortunately, it spectacularly backfired. You see, when the demo for the game was released, fans en masse lamented the greater emphasis on action over the series' expected strategy elements, feeling that a core facet of its identity was watered down and dumbed down. So the blowback from die-hard fans was potent enough that Sega promised to retool the combat before launch to introduce more of the familiar strategy elements, and they definitely did that, but it was a messy, messy implementation that only made the game worse. Given that the strategy gameplay was only injected into the game in the final months of development, there clearly wasn't enough time to get it right, resulting in a clunky mishmash of mechanics which satisfied absolutely nobody, neither the action nor strategy crowds. Ultimately, a lot of critics and fans felt that Sega would have actually just been better just sticking to their guns and going all out on the action front, considering that this half-baked compromise pleased basically nobody. Number 4, tone the cutscenes down. Metal Gear Solid 5, The Phantom Pain. Now, Metal Gear Solid 4 was widely praised for its ultra-cinematic send-off for the franchise icon Solid Snake, which felt like peak Hideo Kojima in every sense of the word. But there were also fans who saw the game as a step too far in the self-indulgent for Kojima, and that the balance between gameplay and cutscenes was simply too unwieldy for its own good. Obviously, they were yet to experience what Death Stranding would be, which is the full rotation, the full Kojima sphere, where he just goes, oh, I'm up my own arse. That is to say that Metal Gear Solid 4's cutscenes comprised about half of the entire game, with an ending sequence that is shockingly close to being feature-length. With Metal Gear Solid 5, however, Kojima evidently took that feedback on board, toning down the rather lengthy cutscenes and ensuring that the player had more hands-on time. And while the 5th game arguably touts the strongest gameplay of the series, many were actually ultimately left disappointed by just how infrequent the cutscenes actually were. The grandiose cinematic sequences from the previous MGS games were desperately few and far between, ensuring that the story seemed like a total afterthought compared to the sprawling open-world gameplay that they got their hands on. Now, don't get me wrong, I had a great time with this game, but the more I think about it, it didn't feel like a totally Kojima experience without being able to sit down, walk away from your entire console or computer, make your dinner, go take the dog for a walk, phone your nan for a bit, and she does go on. Oh, she does go on. And then you come back in, and you've only missed about like 2 plot points because they've decided that they were actually going to take a trip to the beach. They were going from A to B, but they went to the C instead. And then they make some joke about Princess Mario or something like that. Yes, I used Princess Mario. They had to do it for legal reasons to change it. Ooh, a bit awkward in here. Lost the crowd here with that one, Big Pidge. But anyway, don't worry about that, because even if you did find that Metal Gear Solid 5 was a bit short on the old cutscene front, like I said before, you got Death Stranding 1 and 2. Number 3, make it less linear. Mirror's Edge Catalyst. Now, Mirror's Edge was genuinely lauded for its fluid parkour-infused traversal gameplay and sprightly visuals, though many did feel that it also fell a little bit short of its full potential by being far too linear. Given that the free-running gameplay implied a degree of freedom, there was considerable disappointment that players were largely on rails for the most of the experience, and that there was little opportunity to experiment or to run off the beaten track, as it were. But for 2016's belated sequel, Mirror's Edge Catalyst, developer DICE seemed to answer fans' prayers by revealing that it would transpire within an open-world sandbox, which then players were free to explore. However, Catalyst's open world was a big, fat disappointment. A bafflingly sterile, empty environment which never really felt alive in any sense, from the somnambulant NPCs to the general environment repetition copy-paste scenarios. It also didn't help that despite the apparent freedom on offer, many of the core missions still forced you down a linear path regardless. Ultimately, it feels like a middle ground between the original's linearity and Catalyst's listless openness that would have probably been the right way to go. But that ain't where we went, friends. We just went into nowhere, and that game was so bad that it killed the entire franchise. Sick. The fact that they haven't even brought it back, even tried anything else in the years between, is mind-blowing. It is mind-blowing. Number 2, put Anakin in the game. Star Wars Battlefront 2. Though Star Wars Battlefront 2 had one of the most tumultuous launch periods of any video game ever, it was eventually shaped into a worthwhile experience through patches and free content drops. By far the most vocal request from fans was actually the inclusion of Anakin Skywalker as a new hero character, and in early 2019 that wish was finally granted. But the joy was incredibly short-lived, as it didn't take long for fans to realise that Anakin was hilariously overpowered to the extent of being genuinely broken. I mean, the prophecy does label him as like the wonder child that was going to rebalance the Force, but rebalance my ass, he's tipping the scale off the entire system right now. Beyond having insane overall stats, Anakin was also the only hero to have a fourth ability, making him excessively powerful to the point that he was extremely difficult for other players to take on. Now, Anakin, of course, like I've just said, should be a highly powered Force user given that he's the face of the franchise, but at the cost of the misery of other players? Well, it's kind of funny, but no, come on. After a few months of this, DICE finally relented and gave Anakin a nerf, in turn restoring some absolute balance to the Force to a game that had run chaotically amok. Number 1, make the world bigger. Dragon Age Inquisition. Though it was broadly well received by critics, many fans felt that Dragon Age 2 was a major step down from the original game, largely because players were constrained within this tiny city of Kirkwall for the entire game. With recycled assets throughout and a patent lack of environmental variety, it was painfully clear that this RPG sequel was being rushed to market by EA. But BioWare undeniably took the feedback on board for threequel Dragon Age Inquisition, which offered up a more expansive, semi-open world structure. Sounds good so far, right? And while Inquisition was deemed a major improvement in many broad areas, it was also widely criticized for going too far in the opposite direction and being massive to its own detriment. The game world is so huge and yet so very empty and lacking in interesting things to do, likely as a result of the open world arms race that was going on in the early 2010s, where just about every remotely open world game was trying to be bigger than the next one without remembering that bigger should also come with better. Yeah, there was just nothing to do in this. You're just like, wow, this is the prettiest, longest walk I've ever not been on in real life. It's a textbook example of quantity over quality, for while Inquisition had a lot going for it, its world was deeply, thunderously dull. And there we go, my friends. Those were 8 times that listening to fans made games worse. Hope that you enjoyed that, and let me know what you thought about it down in the comment section below, and put your suggestion for next week's episode down there as well. And just remember, like I said before, put a mental reminder in for the 13th of October because I'll be over on the FGS Future Games Show YouTube channel, where I'll be streaming every single day for as long as I physically can, which, remember, I'm approaching my 40s. It ain't gonna be like all day. My bones ache just being alive. Come on, guys. Just check me out there. I'll be streaming as many demos as I can throughout the Steam Next Fest. It would mean a lot if you would show up and give your support. Big love to you, my friends. And also, if you want to chat to me on the social medias, you can do so by going over here, where I'm at RetroJ, but the O is a 0, and you can follow my lovely editor, Sai, over on her social medias over here. But before I go, I just want to say one thing. See, this is the thing. We've been talking today about times where listening to fans made things worse. But you know what? You should listen to me, because what I'm about to say is going to blow your mind. You, my friend, you're a massive ledge. You deserve the best. You deserve love, happiness, and respect. We all do as human beings, all right? So treat yourself with that love first and push it outwards to your neighbor as well. Start spreading love in this world, because trust me, there's a lot of hate going on here, and it can be very overwhelming at times. But the only way that we're going to get through this crazy thing called life is together. So make sure that you're building bridges instead of burning them, going out there with love in your heart for your neighbor as well as yourself. Because at the end of the day, that's all that matters, that I hope that you're living a healthy and happy life, all right? Now get out there and smash it. Big love from me to you, all right? As always, I've been Jules. You have been awesome. Never forget that. I'll speak to you soon. Bye.